All right, here we go. Welcome to Being Reintegrated. I'm your host and researcher, Tim Wright. Now, I have run into some crazy that I don't really know how to deal with, so I won't. Um, it's just how it goes. I'll make a video, I'll make this public. This is introducing the brand new book, which is a commentary on Abbe Fournier, which is called The Simple Initiate. Now, there's been some naysayers about my French, so this is a completely English book. Has nothing to do with the French, other than I used an English translator to translate the original French, which has been removed from circulation. So we translated that, and it is available on the Codex. The Cohen Codex is a Wikipedia-like site that you will be able to go to have access to all of this material, just not the commentary. So without further ado, here is Abbe Fournier, The Simple Initiate. We're almost ready to go to production, but I wanted to show you first so you can see the level of work we got going on. So here's the cover. This is a wonderful image that you'll see, and you'll see it in other publications too. So another thing you should know is that pretty much we've found the second part of Abbe Fournier's treatise. So this book, as a commentary, will go through the first part in English, but also never seen before in any of the professionals or really well-to-do big names out there. We have the second part, which is the manuscript 4127 from Bibliothèque Municipale Grenoble of the Prunelle de Lier collection. And it's for the most part the second part because you can see by specific diagrams on the actual document from France that it is absolutely related to this. One being that there's a hexagram with a perpendicular line right through it. And if you know what the perpendicular is, then you'll be able to see that this is a completely Cohenized document. It's completely relating Abbe Fournier to the Yellow Cohen. So I'm very grateful to be able to put this into circulation. It's never been done, and that's what the introduction is about. So I used some of the popular sources, a book which is not paginated, but which has a pretty good introduction. So I used that for research. So you'll be able to see all of your grandeur, or for whatever it's worth, in this introduction. So I'll read it to you because I'm not afraid to give away this tradition for free. I'm not trying to get people to pay. However, I did want to make the book so we can study it in the future because what Fournier actually did was he went through, or Fournier, whatever you want to say, he went through the Cohen material with Martinus and I assume Saint Martin and maybe even Villermoz and Hauterive, and he got into a place where he had to argue for necessity, which he says in the actual book, which I have in the commentary. It's on like page 200 something, which I'll do a search and hopefully we'll be able to see in this. But to fully grasp Pierre Fournier's book, I don't speak French. I use computer translations and a lot of help. So one must navigate a text that spans 391 pages, and I wrote this, so you could criticize it for what it's worth, but it's in English and it's my research and academic study of the book. Filled with a dense stream of thought that may initially seem disorganized, as Antoine Favre points out, the work lacks a clear structure, yet this may be intentional. aligning it more with the spiritual tone of works like Martinus de Pasquale's treatise on the reintegration of beings or Saint Martin's Errors in Truth. Fournier seems to follow a similar tradition of esoteric writings where the process of engagement with the text mirrors the spiritual path it describes, requiring effort, perseverance, and a deeper connection beyond the surface. At its core, Fournier's work seeks to guide the reader toward a unified understanding of God's monotheistic nature, which, though expressed through the dual forces of creation and emanation, must ultimately be reconciled as one. This duality, often misinterpreted as separate events or even rival entities, Satan or a demon tempting us to see creation and emanation as distinct, is addressed from the very first page of the text. Fournier uses a powerful metaphor to illustrate this point: mathematics. The introduction of mathematics as a metaphor serves as a bridge for the reader, allowing for an accessible comparison to divine knowledge, just as mathematics is something that many of us use but few fully understand. The same can be said for our knowledge of God. Fournier implies that without dedicated effort, we can only grasp a superficial understanding of both. From the start, Fournier draws parallels between learning mathematics and coming to know God. This comparison serves several purposes. And then we go through all of the points that this introduction is going to go through. So, effort in learning and understanding. I'll just read it all to you because, like I said, I wrote it, I studied it, and this is all my material. So you can criticize it if you have something better. I doubt you will. But if you do, go ahead and put your dukes up. I'd rather not punch on old men who are holding on to traditions which, they don't really understand. So, and I won't punch on Fournier or Favre or Amadou or any of the scholars. In fact, we will lean on their work. Anyway, a little bit miffed because I have caught some criticism for making this. But what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, and that's going to make this book a lot more available to everyone, because now it's my mission to make sure that anybody who's interested in any of this reads this book. Effort in learning and understanding. Fournier underscores that both mathematics and the divine require perseverance and commitment. Just as one must follow the teachings of mathematicians to truly understand mathematics, one must follow God's teachings to understand the divine. A comparison between human and divine knowledge. Fournier hints at the way humans acquire knowledge, suggesting that while mathematical knowledge comes through human effort, divine knowledge requires spiritual guidance. This comparison emphasizes the need for a deeper guided engagement with the spiritual path. Limitations of superficial knowledge. By using mathematics as a metaphor, Fournier highlights how many people might be aware of both mathematics and God on a surface level, but few truly understand them due to not fully engaging with the necessary teachings. The importance of following proper guidance. Fournier stresses the importance of following teachings given by those already knowledgeable, whether in mathematics or faith, to reach a fuller understanding. This reflects the esoteric tradition where knowledge is passed down through initiation and careful study. Philosophical reflection on knowledge and existence. Implicitly, Fournier invites the reader to reflect on what it means to truly know something. This reflection applies to both the scientific knowledge of mathematics and the spiritual knowledge of God. In essence, Fournier appears to be providing a hermeneutic in advance, preparing the reader for a deeper spiritual teachings to follow. The metaphor of mathematics functions as a method of understanding, a guide for how we should approach the subsequent text. Much like the spiritual journey, engaging with Fournier's work requires effort and persistence, but it also provides a framework for understanding the deeper connection between divine emanation and creation. While Favre criticizes the text's lack of structure, it's possible that this disorganization serves to reflect the very process Fournier is describing. The journey toward understanding is not linear or easy, but it is necessary. In this way, Fournier mirrors the broader esoteric tradition where spiritual truths are uncovered gradually through engagement and reflection rather than being handed down in neatly packaged doctrines. Ultimately, the book invites the reader into a dialogue, not only with the text, but with the spiritual realities it points toward. Through the metaphor of mathematics, Fournier offers a way to approach these complexities, encouraging us to reflect on our understanding of God and creation as a unified whole, despite the temptations to see them as fragmented or dualistic. And here's a great use of your great bosses or whatever. Pierre Fournier, Biography and Contribution to Esoteric Thought. Pierre Fournier, 1738 to 1801, was a Catholic priest whose life and work reflected a unique intersection of faith, esoteric exploration, and metaphysical inquiry. His seminal treatise, What We Have Been, What We Are, and What We Will Become, remains an important yet underexplored text in the history of mystical thought. Though originally conceived as a 2-volume series, only the first volume was completed and published in England in 1801, with its first English translation appearing in 2022. Early life in Bordeaux. Born into a modest family in the intellectual and culturally vibrant city of Bordeaux, Fournier's early influences included his uncle, an Augustinian abbot, through whom he likely pursued the priesthood. Bordeaux's diverse environment, comprising Portuguese Jews, foreign Protestants, and Catholic intellectuals, may have subtly shaped Fournier's openness to unconventional spiritual ideas. Despite prohibitions against clerical involvement in Freemasonry, Fournier joined a Masonic lodge in 1761. There he encountered Martinus de Pasquale, the enigmatic founder of the Yellow Koan, an esoteric order practicing theurgy aimed at spiritual regeneration. Fournier became Pasquale's personal secretary and was profoundly influenced by the order's rituals and cosmological teachings, even as he wrestled with tensions between his Catholic faith and these esoteric practices. Now, you should know that I don't like the word Pasquale, but it's what everybody uses, so we'll use it. Actually, Michel Nahon, the former president of the Society of Martinus de Pasquale, says that we should probably just call him Joaquin. And then my friend, who's Peruvian, who did all of the translations, Alex Bushman, of the Koan Codex, says that we should probably just call him Martinez. So, we have a mixed bag when it comes to the naming, but it's there. The French Revolution in exile. The upheaval of the French Revolution profoundly disrupted Fournier's life and work. Fleeing religious persecution, he sought refuge in Switzerland before settling in London. There he completed and published his treatise in 1801, spending his final years in Soho Square. He was buried in St. Pancras New Church. Fournier's What We Have Been, What We Are, and What We Will Become is a deeply personal work reflecting his spiritual struggles. Influenced by Pasquale's theurgical concepts and his own Catholic convictions, the treatise explores humanity's spiritual fall and potential for reintegration with the divine. The text also delves into the tension between good and evil, frequently referencing Satan and spiritual adversaries. Now, just so you know, when you get involved in the Koan egregore, you're going to be struggling with antinomies. This is what Jung talked about and which I've added in the introduction, which we'll see. But just so you know, antinomies are part of the work. You're going to absolutely hate anything that is not unity. And you're going to split things into two. It's a very well-known thing. And many friends of mine from Canada in the past told me that this is why everybody who has entered into the Koan has gone practically insane. So you're definitely turning up the heat in these kind of materials. So good luck. Scholarly perspectives. Antoine Favre two-part study sheds light on Fournier's inner conflicts and his engagement with esoteric teachings. Favre emphasizes Fournier's struggle to reconcile his devout Catholicism with the Elu practices. Notably, Favre highlights Fournier's evolving relationship with Pasquale, whom he came to revere as a spiritual master despite initial suspicions. Here's Robert Amadou's insights. Amadou's work reveals Fournier's doctrinal tensions and his unwavering devotion to Pasquale, though through Fournier's correspondence with figures like Jean-Baptiste Villermoz and Louis-Claude de Saint-Martin, Amadou uncovers a man grappling with faith, esoteric symbolism, and a sense of exclusion from Masonic circles. Despite these struggles, Fournier's commitment to Pasquale's teachings remains steadfast. And these independent insights are actually mine, but I'm trying to be somewhat modest in the introduction. But I wrote it. Building on Favre and Amadou, modern interpretations underscore Fournier's role as a bridge between Catholic orthodoxy and esoteric speculation. His reflections on divine unity, spiritual beings, and the reconciliation of Lucifer highlight his unique contribution to Martinist philosophy and mystical thought. These insights emphasize Fournier's integration of Catholic doctrine with metaphysical symbolism, positioning him as a distinct figure within esoteric Christianity. Fournier's letters reveal moments of profound doubt, particularly during the French Revolution when he relied on financial support from Villermoz. As tensions with Villermoz and the Masonic orders grew, Fournier's writings reflect his deepening sense of isolation and spiritual turmoil. In Jungian analysis, it could be described as the breakdown of a priest torn between the Catholic pursuit of the summum bonum and the esoteric teachings that challenged his religious foundations. And check this out, wise asses. I went into the Jungian analysis of Fournier's inner conflict. Fournier's inner conflict caught between the summum bonum, the highest good, and the infimum malum, the lowest evil, can be seen through the lens of Jungian psychology as a confrontation with his personal and collective shadow. In his answer to Job, Jung explores the psychic energy generated by such a battle as a necessary step toward individuation, the process through which one integrates the unconscious into consciousness. For Fournier, this psychic energy manifests in his theological and esoteric struggles, which are less about resolving dualities and more about the transformative energy released through their tension. Fournier's confrontation with dualities, creation and emanation, good and evil, can also be compared to Jung's analysis and answer to Job, where he explores the divine and demonic not as entirely separate, but as complementary forces within the human psyche. For Fournier, reconciling these forces becomes central to his esoteric journey, much like the psychic energy generated through Jung's concept of the oppositio, where the tension between dualities fosters transformation and deeper understanding. We know this is how the creative forces were discussed, at least by Louis-Claude de Saint-Martin from his posthumous work, Treatise on Benedictions, where he classifies what we commonly call destructive forces as part of the structure of a blessing. Now, my book plug, again, you can go and get Cohen Instructions, which was criticized by the Canadian Elu Cohen, which, I don't really have anything to do with, other than Matt Ravignon, who was awesome, by the way. But yeah, that book is available on Lulu, so if you want it, go get it. Jung's concept of a summum bonum as a psychological idea toward which the individual strives mirrors Fournier's quest for divine unity. However, this ideal cannot exist without confrontation with the opposite, what Jung terms the infimum malum, which is the ultimate evil, which for Fournier manifests in the tension between his Catholic upbringing and his esoteric pursuits. For Fournier, reconciling this tension between the highest good and the lowest evil echoes Jung's concept of individuation, where spiritual and psychological wholeness can be achieved through the integration of both the light and the shadow. While Fournier may not be fully aware of the psychic energy generated by his conflict, much like Jung's analysis of Answer to Job, this internal struggle between divine and demonic forces catalyzes a deeper spiritual transformation. Just as Jung posits that the tension between opposites produces a transformative psychic energy, so too does Fournier's internal battle act as a force that drives his spiritual journey toward divine reintegration. In the context of Fournier's spiritual reintegration, the dualities he confronts between light and darkness, good and evil, may be understood as forms of his own psychic shadow. Drawing from Jung's concept of shadow work, Fournier's esoteric practices aim not to reject these forces, but to integrate them, seeking a path of spiritual healing and wholeness through the reconciliation of opposites. Legacy and influence. Although largely overlooked, Fournier's work had a lasting impact on mystical and theosophical traditions. His emphasis on reconciliation and spiritual regeneration, extending even to Lucifer, echoes millenarian themes and underscores his eschatological vision. His integration of Catholic doctrine, mystical symbolism, and speculative metaphysics positions him as a unique figure in esoteric Christianity. Favre and Amadou agree that Fournier's contributions to Martinist thought, particularly his reflections on divine emanation and reintegration, deserve further study. While Fournier remains an enigmatic and underexplored figure, his life and work are worth the candle for those seeking to understand the spiritual and philosophical dynamics of his time. In a way, it is the modern tools of AI that allow us to explore the depth of Fournier's work as never before, providing a detailed analysis and structured interpretation, something that was not possible during his time. This is analysis that no individual was able to perform. Even the greatest of scholars, Antoine Favre and Amadou, didn't provide such a microscopic analysis of the material. The translator of the English version used for this analysis was kind enough to offer it free and paginate it so the commentary could be performed. It was independently translated from a public source Google Docs file in French that was available a few years back. It has since been removed. Since the paginated English version was done as a labor of love, this is offered to everyone who wants to use it on our academia site. With this effort, the book can finally be referenced to its somewhat anonymous counterpart, manuscript 4127 from the Bibliothèque Municipale Grenoble. This document contains the proper tone, references to Cohen doctrine, and even diagrams to properly associate it with this first volume. It is perhaps with some errors because AI isn't perfect, but it's definitely a start in a proper direction. Due to the limited funds, support, and national turmoil, Fournier wasn't really given the treatment in publishing that he deserved, with an editor and more time and effort into his work. But now we are able to fulfill this man's ardent search for the simple truth. That's me, winter 2024. Merry Christmas. So you'll see, I won't just give you this giving. Page 1, the pursuit of true understanding in mathematics and knowledge of God. So what I did is I went through the French and actually the English, which was translated from the French, which is a different book in the 2022 English version, by the way, with no explanatory information. And we gave a highlight heading that you'll see also in like a book like Saint-Martin's of Errors and Truth, of each page, and then a summary of what that page is about. So you'll see that all the way through the book. We're going to go all the way now to the end, and we did the entire book. So it will be basically the entire book, and you'll see that at the end we have 4127, which is available as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to that part. Thanks for scrolling with me. Now this manuscript was not numbered. So this is the introduction to the Treatise on Resurrection, which was called, and the New Cohen Instruction, which also Amadou called it. We're pleased to present for the first time in English the manuscript 4127 from BMG, translated and divided into sections. The original manuscript did not contain section paragraphs or chapter breaks, so this translation has been structured for easier readability and analysis. Although the author of the manuscript is not definitively known, several markers suggest that it was likely written by Abbé Fournier. These include not only the content and tone, but also the illustrations and some specific language choices. The style of the translation mirrors that of Fournier's known work. The manuscript has been referred to at various times by Robert Amadou as the Treatise on Resurrection and the New Koan Instruction. There is also a strong possibility that this text represents the missing conclusion of the Treatise on the Reintegration of Beings, a significant work in spiritual and alchemical philosophy. Key themes discussed in the manuscript include the universal table, the central axis fire spirits, and the transfiguration of JC, which is Jesus Christ. These topics echo the ideas presented in Fournier's other writings, as well as his philosophical system regarding spiritual evolution and reintegration. While we cannot claim absolute certainty regarding the authorship, we believe there are enough distinctive markers in the manuscript to attribute to Abbé Fournier, or at the very least to consider it as being inspired by his philosophical teachings, particularly those found in his published book. This manuscript has not been adequately treated in modern scholarship, therefore we have included it here in its original pagination as part of this analysis, which is extensive. If you use this translation alongside the commentary in part 1, which has been properly paginated, you will be able to draw comparisons and gain deeper insights into manuscript 4127. As with all such efforts, this work is not without imperfections. However, the outline, translation, and introductory essay, which I just read to you, Merry Christmas, should offer a richer understanding of the mind and writings of Abbé Fournier and his particular insights into the later degrees of spiritual knowledge. And then you'll see, in print, the entire manuscript, which Amadou didn't even make available to anyone. But I made it available because I'm just a nice guy like that. I didn't want it to be solely limited to the order Koans des Ressuscités. So you have that, and then at the end of the book, I was going to provide a table to the 2022 edition, but since that happened, I am not too interested in helping anybody with their translations become more relevant, modern, or academic, really. So you'll have to do your own work, and this is released as a commentary on a paginated version. So if the reader can't find it in anybody else's work, I mean, that's just part of the deal. Hopefully that is a good enough introduction to the brand new book coming out on Amazon probably in 2025. Happy solstice to all, and I hope that you really enjoy this.